We're Arts and Adventure, Summit Sea Airwaves. This is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show with Oberndorfer and Long. I am R. Brandon Long, along with
Todd Oberndorfer.
We are your hosts for the greatest arts and adventure podcast in a trailer at the Monarch in all the land. So joining us today, we have an all-star cast. Thanks, Todd, for...
When did they get here?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, when do they show up?
When do they show up?
We got seat holders. It's award season. So you're the seat holders, and thanks for coming by. I appreciate that.
Chase Burch, a lot of things, but Lucky Slice, Interlude, Cam McLeod, officially in charge of Apollo short film, photographer, videographer. Shane Osguthorpe, The Proper Way, among other things. Visit Ogden. Well, I think this says Visit Ogden on it.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, tourism board on here. But we should start with the salute here. Chase, what are we drinking?
We are drinking.
Oh, that should be Shane's mic, not Cam's, but that's all right. Cam, you can bring yours back. That's an awfully long way to travel. That was pretty good, though.
Thanks.
It would work, but yeah.
But he's thinking about the shot. That's what he's
Right, he's thinking about the shot. Yeah, always.
This is my first experimental batch of...
Oh, good.
That's why it says batch number 1 on the bottle. No, but I've tested it before, so it's safe.
First we were told it was urine, and now it's experimental. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is hard apple cider that I pressed from my grandparents' apples on my grandpa's handmade press.
I'm just glad you had something that came after a press from my grandparents, because that would be weird. The apples, so they're on an orchard, or
no, just their backyard. They have a couple apple trees, and yeah, my grandpa built an apple press like 25 years ago, not for making cider, just for making apple juice.
Yeah,
and I stumbled upon it in his garage, and been thinking about making apple cider, so I pressed a bunch of juice, 30 gallons of apples, gave it 7 gallons of juice, and then I added some champagne yeast, and it's been in process for a couple months. And
all right, should we see if we go blind?
Yes.
See you boys on the other side.
That's right, tasty.
Oh, I could drink that.
Yeah, thanks.
That is interesting.
Happy to be part of that.
It's totally dry.
Very dry.
Because
that's the champagne
yeast is it's a really strong yeast, so it just eats all the sugar. So it's not sweet like a lot of people like their apple cider. It's just pretty.
But I could definitely taste your grandpa's apples. So that's ultimately the goal.
It's ultimately.
I taste them.
Good.
Can I tell him so? Is he still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll let him know next time I see him.
Yeah. So I want to.
Does this have a name? Did you give it a name?
Oh. Yeah.
Batch number
just
1.
batch one.
Batch number 1.
This is just batch 1.
Batch number 1.
In the back of my head, I have an idea for a cider company called Sidetrack Cider. Ooh. Which actually, Cam, this is serendipitous that you're here. This name for this cider concept came from looking at the building that you guys have. That's right beside the track. You're like, what can we do with this building?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you should open a cider company. I probably told you that. I was like, you can do cider here.
Yeah.
And I was like, Sidetrack, because it's right beside the
when you need space, let us know.
Right. I'll let you know after batch 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to crowdfund, then we can talk.
I'll bet you that wasn't the only thing distilled in the back of that property.
Oh, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need a good cider distiller up here. I think you should do it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Seeking investors.
The show takes a
I have a
turn.
logo, and I have 6 more bottles of this cider.
I'm like, you have a logo. That's all you need. So we're good.
We all just turned into the sharks in this show. Just pitch it to us. Go ahead and pitch it right now. Yeah. We'll tell you how much we're in, if we're interested or not. Yeah.
Tell us the numbers.
Chase, the microphone is in front of you, so we're going to start with you and Interlude. So that happened last 2 weekends ago? When did it happen?
Yeah, I guess it was 10 days ago. What is today? Wednesday?
Is it Tuesday? Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Yeah, it started 10 days ago.
Okay. First of all, what is it? Explain it to us lay people.
Yeah, okay. Interlude was born out of kind of the frustration of the snowboard industry with Outdoor Retailer and SIA.
What is that frustration?
I don't know. I think it's multifaceted, but probably just lack of culture and depth and understanding, and paired with outrageous prices, and I think there's a myriad of factors there. But in a nutshell, like Interlude is kind of taken place of outdoor retailer SIA, which for those who don't know, that's like was for a long time the most prominent trade show in the outdoor industry. Which then at one point in history combined with SIA, a snow sports industry organization that brought skiing and snowboarding into the mix. But in 2020 with COVID, that stopped, and they kind of all deflected, and I answered a phone call one day, and we started this event as an independent answer to the needs for something that was had a little bit more soul to it than a giant convention center, I guess you could say.
So is this your event, or you're just you help put it
Yeah,
up?
this is an event that I founded.
Correct.
Yeah, and this previous one that happened was the third year that we've been doing it. So
So if I paid you $1 million for this event, would you sell out right now?
yeah.
I thought we'd have to play with numbers a little bit.
I would.
Start a cider company.
I would, and then I'd start a cider company, and I'd give you a couple years, and then
I
I'd
love
probably
this.
start another event and steal my clients back.
Strategy. It's called strategy. Bro.
Oh, good question, Todd. Good
Yeah.
question. That is funny. It happened here at the Monarch, the same building we're podcasting in, amongst other places in town. So what was the the lay of the land there, and how many days did it go?
So this is a 3-day event. This year, we were at the Monarch and the Copper Nickel during the evenings, and then on snow at Snow Basin during the day. So there's a few components to the show. The Monarch, up at the top of the Monarch, is where we actually had like the indoor product show, where the brands set up exhibits and booths and could show their 2025 products. We had the Copper Nickel rented out, and we serve everybody dinners, plus throw after parties and things like that.
Yeah, and that's not he said 2025 because in the industry you plan a year in advance.
Yeah.
For those of you thinking he said the wrong year, no, that's the right year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Just clarifying.
they're definitely working further ahead than us
Yeah.
peasants know. But yeah, and then on snow, demos happen at Snow Basin, so we go to Snow Basin and people get a chance to actually ride the product.
Is it usually at Snow Basin, or has it been a Powder?
No, it's been in Powder Mountains the past 2 years, yes, since its onset, which I kind of ideated this event with my good friend JP, who we all know, who was at Powder Mountain for a while, but he was no longer there, and a few different conditions required us to kind of evolve. So we moved to Ogden and Snow Basin, which was actually a nice transition. Yeah.
Doing my job.
Stop talking. What the hell? I think like what we're doing. Just
First time.
It feels, and that's how we keep it fresh. It feels like the first time every.
okay. And you were saying? And
Where do we need to start?
How far back are we going?
and you just continue on that sentence right there. No, you're at Snow Basin, and that was it. Yeah. Yeah, I totally. Yeah, sorry. It was a glitch
No,
in
it's
the
okay.
matrix over
We
here.
all love downtown. The venues are fantastic. I completely
Yeah,
agree with you on that.
Yeah, so it was a nice transition, and
Did everyone like the move? Did attendees
yeah,
like
it's
coming
always
down
hard
here?
to say. You're like, I don't know, are people gonna like this? But I kind of knew it. Like the Monarch is an amazing venue, the Copper Nickel's amazing,
Meh.
and people being able to walk, like they're walking back and forth. They go to dinner at Copper Nickel, and then they walk to the Monarch, and as they're walking up 25th Street, they're looking at Mount Ogden and Snow Basin, and they're like, oh, that's where I'm gonna be riding tomorrow. Like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I was excited just to get people, it's a double-sided sword, half of it's like, I'm so stoked to show people like how cool Ogden is, how great this setup is, the proximity to things, the ease of access, and then on the other side, I'm like, damn it, secrets.
Just don't move here.
I'm contributing.
When you attract your and track your attendees, where are they coming from?
It's national and international as well. Oh yeah, it's national and international. We're flying in retailers, shop owners from all over North America. A decent contingency from the Rockies, some from Utah. Heavy attendance from the Pacific Northwest, heavy attendance from the Midwest, some East Coast attendance, and then we have people from Canada coming as well, and then a few folks from Europe
Do
coming.
you know how freaking cold it is in Canada right now? Have you looked at that?
7?
Like in the mid?
Yeah.
No.
It's like minus
The
Like
negative.
neg 30, neg 40. Yeah.
Yeah.
because because I was looking at Alaska too, because I'm like, oh, it's got to be colder in Alaska, but I guess the ocean helps keep Alaska somewhat moderate there, and at least on the like Anchorage and outskirts. So it's like 30, and I'm like, oh, that's mild.
Yeah.
And then you get further, but yeah, it was like Edmonton, neg 40.
Yeah.
What in the world?
It was negative 23 I saw, and like Bozeman.
Yeah, Whitefish
That's
was
crazy.
negative 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. Anyway.
Do you, with this event, with Interlude, are you focused more on like grassroots companies, or like trying to at least provide opportunities for more of a grassroots, since it's a cultural based event, or at least the focus seems to fall more on the culture side, while providing these companies a platform to market and sell?
Yeah, we basically have the door open to any company who wants to come in, but the way we sort of even the playing field is at what we saw happen at Outdoor Retail and SIA is that these big companies would spend an exorbitant amount of money on a booth that was double decker and like took up
Yeah, but they had a DJ.
huge footprint.
And they
Yeah,
did,
and they
like,
had to
Yogurt machines. Does yours have
I've
yogurt
heard
machines?
stories of secret back doors to strippers who help you put on your boots. I mean, it was just.
Well, we
outrageous.
like some of.
Do you
like
offer
those.
that? That
Yeah,
You
that,
could do
and-
grassroots
but they offer it
strippers?
to everybody. That's
Locals.
Yeah,
where they
it's for
level the playing
everyone.
field. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. It needs to be open to everybody.
Yeah.
yeah.
But what we do to kind of even the playing field is our approach is really simple. There's two sizes of booths, and we build the walls. Well, I don't personally, but I contract out with Mackenzie Exhibit here in town, and so everybody shows up to a blank white wall, and they're all the same, either small or medium,
Oh,
and
I
you
love
can
that.
you can decorate within basically the bounds of what you can accomplish in 8 hours from when you show up to when the show starts. And so even the most well-funded massive companies like Solomon or whoever, like they can only have a medium-sized booth. Medium is the biggest size that we sell. They're small and medium. So
That's awesome.
so we kind of even the playing field that way, and the cost of entry is like, I mean, compared to what it would typically cost a company to go exhibit at a large-scale trade
So you just
show
have to
is
buy like really nice
easy.
fixtures.
Or can you build up? Like,
Nope. I get all sorts of these questions.
Yeah, I bet.
oh, I've seen
I'm
what
like-
happens at the outdoor.
I'm like,
retail.
no. Like,
Yeah.
we had a TV this year, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you can add a TV. They're like, do you know where we can get one? And I'm like, no. My services are pretty limited. Yeah. So.
Wow.
But
So
yeah,
what's-
that's a good question.
What was your question, Cam?
No,
Oh, it was just how who they're kind of going after for companies.
yeah.
Well,
If it was
so-
like a grassroots sort of.
Well,
focused or
it's
not.
interesting. It's an interesting approach because we went to OR for years, and yeah, like Arc'teryx, double decker, the whole shebang there. So in the snowboard industry, were there brands that were taking advantage of that space, and that's why you went this direction, or does it matter? Does it matter because the buyers are just looking to find a good well-built product?
Yeah, some of it is that by design puts the focus on the product, like the product shines product, but also just like the interaction that somebody can have, like with the people coming by their space and their booth. If you take away kind of the over-the-top builds and stuff like that, it really strips things down and simplifies things a lot for people.
Is it primarily hard goods, or do you get soft goods?
It's hard goods and soft goods.
Okay.
Yeah. And kind of to touch on the grassroots feeling that you would hope to get, like the snowboard industry is very special that way. There are only 35 brands in the whole snowboard industry, and 33 of them are all pretty good buds. Like they all like being in the same room.
That
with each
one
other.
though, yeah.
There's a couple out there, that people are
Name
just like,
names.
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 Now, because Salt Lake SOAR has been back 2 years now, and they suck bad both times. And I think that's their strategy, is to suck and suck and suck, and then maybe eventually get a little better.
they're
No, I
lowering
read
the
this,
bar.
No, like they have a plan to kind of build things back up, and so we know it's going to suck for a while as part of the plan, I guess. And so 2 years ago, Shane met me down there. It had sucked bad. This is from somebody who loved. Oh, we had such a good time visiting down there. Our closest friends, do you know who, decided not to come this last year because they knew that it sucked from the first year. But my question is, beyond the fact that it does suck right now, how did that affect your show this year? Because the word is kind of out. Like it's not a hidden thing that the Salt Lake go.
Do they still go to
right
both?
now.
Most of them?
No.
Okay.
I stole everybody.
Yeah, hell yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Well,
I
there's
don't
a
think
void
there's
for
really.
sure.
There might be one or two companies who are, a crossover, like companies who make snowboards, but also other
Solomon,
things.
perhaps. Or...
I don't know if Solomon goes.
really?
To, their ski side might go, but I think their snowboard side is done.
Well,
I
an
can't
SIA
confirm
is
that, but-
different than OR.
Yeah, they are now. Yep. Yeah, it's all that whole landscape is shifting and ownerships and things like that, which I frankly don't pay too much attention to. But yeah. So there's not many snowboard companies at all who are attending these other shows, and yeah, like the sentiment that I heard. I mean, just to kind of dive into maybe the backstory that'll give this some context is like I never had an intention to start this event. This wasn't something that I was like setting out to do on my own, and I had this idea in spring of 2021. I just had got done splitboarding at Snow Basin after they had closed, and was driving home and just had a phone call from a friend of mine who worked for a snowboard company called Air Blaster, and I just picked up the phone, and he basically just asked me if he said we as like a collective snowboard industry need something new, and for some reason he had some sort of belief or confidence in me that I knew how to pull off events, which I appreciate. I've had some experience in that realm, and he's like, but we don't know anybody who has the bandwidth to do this. Is it something that you think you could pull off? Like, we got to get out of Outdoor Retailer SIA. Like, that show is just dead. Like, we're just stuffed in a corner. It's in a big conference room with fluorescent lights. Like, there is no soul. Like, we want to be snowboarding. We want to be in a place where we feel like we, not like we belong, but like we want to be there. And there is energy that like we want to leave it feeling excited, not like we just spent like a couple days in a giant convention center and ate chicken strips and like.
No, it's awful. And now, and is it more affordable for them to do a show like Interlude, or they pay more?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's incredibly affordable compared to what they probably were paying. And I don't know totally what the numbers were for these bigger trade shows, but I've heard some murmurings of like, it's like X amount per square foot, and just to even have a booth, plus they have to pay labor unions to set up all the stuff. And I'm like, I can do most of this myself, and I'll hire a couple friends and like tap into local resources, and we can pull this off like relatively
well. And
affordably.
you live in Ogden, so Ogden was blessed with this event, I guess. Did you think about going anywhere outside of Ogden?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I just instantly, like when I answered that phone call, I was like, oh yeah, I could pull something like this off. Like it wasn't just me, like I hung up the phone and I called JP at Powder Mountain, and it was like, JP, there's this idea. Do you think we could do something like this? And he was like, yeah, totally, And again, it's like, I think maybe the downfall of these bigger events and shows that they really are too big, so big that they require a ton of people, which creates a ton of overhead, and they just overcomplicate things. And like, you really don't need that much to create a great event, like have a space, get the right people there, make sure they're fed. If they want something to drink, make sure there's drinks available, and then like just step back and just kind of let
it go. That's
let
like
it
most
happen.
parties. Bring the people, make sure there's food and drink.
Yeah.
Now, Chase, you said you didn't
Pretty
see this
simple.
coming, but if you had been listening to Proper Ways music in 2020, they had written a song about you starting Interlude.
Really?
They prophesize all the things,
You guys.
Chase. I mean,
It's like The
I'm seeing
Simpsons.
a
You go
repeat.
back now. Everything has been
Like
foretold.
The Simpsons.
We're gonna call ourselves the Proper
Oh my
Way.
God! You have to go back and listen to all the Proper Way music now, just to know what's going to happen in the future.
They foresaw it all.
The
Oh,
profit way.
Not the Prophet Way. Oh, make sure you spell that right, because it's Chase. You said there was like 35 or something brands right now. Are those qualified like Air Blaster? Do they make snowboards or just apparel,
Air Blaster makes outerwear.
outerwear? So they have to make like specific apparel for snowboarding and or snowboards? In other words, what's your criteria for someone who's on the line there if they want to be in the show?
Yeah, I guess there's not a hard written handbook on that, but we have limited space. We have been sold out of space every year. And coming to Monarch this year was nice because we could open up 5 more spots, and those 5 spots filled up pretty nicely with like the few missing pieces of the snowboard industry that we wanted to attend this event. And then, we had one open space towards the end, and somebody inevitably filled it up, so I'm not really a gatekeeper, but, I'm not saying like, oh, you guys can't come, oh, you guys can come. It's mostly, it kind of self-manages itself just based on space. And yeah, I think we've found the right venues that fit the right size, and it's just sort of this fine line we're walking where we don't have a bunch of people knocking on the door. We don't have, and people outside of the snowboard industry really don't have interest in this event, right? Because it is very passion based and concentrated on this industry. So
I think the biggest thing to remember, though, is you could see what happens when you let anybody on any of the shows that you do.
Yeah.
For instance. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I think if you get to that point, then that's a whole other bridge. I think you're in a really good place right now.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and my intention with this event is never to, I don't want to, grow so big that I can't self-manage this with a small team. Like, the intimate feel is really what people are coming here for, I don't want to.
I working in the outdoor industry for a while, I noticed that there's a lot of small ski startup companies that they make skis in their basement, and then they get bigger. I didn't notice any snowboard companies that are like that. Very few. Are there? Because I could see more and more snowboard companies coming online and making the event much bigger, like you said, to outgrow where you want to be, perhaps. But like on the ski side, I see that happening. On the snowboard side, would that happen? I just don't know the industry well enough on that snowboard side.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are startup companies who want to kind of enter the space and the industry, of snowboarding and the peripheral things like outerwear and things like that. But this event is part trade show, but really I would say it's 40% trade show. The other 60% is culture and community and gathering. And like, there are some brands who just exist online and they just sell products on Instagram, but they don't have a team of athletes they're supporting. They're not supporting creative films or projects. They're not giving back to this body, this energy that is, snowboarding in this example. And so, yeah, I don't think not saying that I don't think they belong, because maybe they want to contribute to it, but if they're just there to capitalize on if they're just here to make money, like this event, maybe it actually doesn't really make sense for them to come to, because they might make some sales at it, but also like I think what really comes out of this event is just like a connection to something bigger than each company, and they're proud, and I'm proud to host this event because it is something bigger than ourselves, and everybody comes out feeling like they contributed to something bigger than themselves, which is important, I think, to keep, I don't know if we call it a sport or a culture or a community or something like that, just like to keep proliferating that and helping that grow. Like, that's what I love about the snowboarding community, is that it seems to be like product second. It's like passion first. And I think maybe a lot of industries would say that sort of thing. But,
So who attends? Is it I assume it's your typical buyers from...
Yeah, we have retail buyers from all over. And then we have some reps, but it's mostly in-house. It's very heavily in-house attended by the brands. They're sending their marketing teams and their designers and their presidents, and then we also bring in a lot of the media companies too. I mean, almost every major snowboard media outlet was in attendance this year, which is really cool, because it is the first chance that anybody gets to see this 2025 product.
So Rad Magazine, Stoked Magazine, Totally Cool
Dudes Unlimited
Dudes Magazine, Shred YouTube was there.
Gnarly.com / subscribe.
You got them. Somehow you got them.
We got them.
Got to have a women's
Your show
magazine.
speaks for itself. They're showing up.
What's the women's magazine?
OMG.com.
OMG, there you go.
I don't know.
All the same way.
Very good.
Anyway.
Good job, Chase. That was,
Yeah, thanks,
that's
guys.
a lot of work. You had an arts component because this is an arts and adventure show, so you did have an arts component to it. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And that was a goal of ours was like I wanted, bringing it to Ogden this year, I wanted to facilitate some community-facing, a community-facing component of the show. And we did that in a few different ways. We hosted a film premiere the first night of the show at the Copper Nickel, a film by Jake Price called Endurance 2, which was documenting a trip that they took to Antarctica to go snowboarding, all shot on 16 millimeter film. It won't be released online.
16 millimeters so hot right now.
Yeah, yeah,
After the ship,
yeah.
Endurance.
After the story
After
of
the story,
yep,
yep.
Endurance,
Shackleton?
exactly.
Wait, do we have that?
yeah, Shackleton, exactly.
Shackleton, yeah.
Is it over there?
Is it over there? No, I thought we had.
Yeah, it's up there. I
Is
see
it up there?
You
Yeah,
see it?
endurance.
That's one of my favorite stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second one from the bottom.
My favorite stories of death. One of my favorite stories.
I have Deaths of Yellowstone. There's more in there.
That's
It's pretty
good,
good.
too,
But yeah, Shackleton's better.
Deaths of Yellowstone.
Yeah. It's a series.
Is it broken up into chapters like geysers?
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Well, yes. Yeah. Mostly geysers. most people just dive into those things.
Few
after
of
their
them are
dog-
dumb deaths. A
Yeah.
couple of them are dumb deaths. Yeah.
Yeah, the dog runs in, and then they go to save the dog, and it doesn't turn out so well. So
Yeah.
it doesn't. Yeah.
Twofer.
Murders. There's a lot of murders. It's a twofer. We call this geyser twofer over here. Yeah. A lot of those actually. Yeah.
So anyways, we showed this film, which was cool because it's not going online, and there was one of two premieres in the world that is
Nice.
happening. This was the second one. It's live scored on a player piano. They projected it with the original film. They projected it onto a sail. They brought a sail.
Oh, yeah.
like an
You
extra
should know
boat
something
sail,
about
and-
that.
Yeah, I do know. Yeah. So that was cool, and then
That
we.
is like the coolest, most hipster thing you could even come up with.
yeah, it was cool.
What did you serve to drink? Was it out of mason jars as well? Guarantee
we served
Somebody was using a
a
mason
lot of
jar.
Uinta beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you?
Nicely done. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. And then we set up an art exhibit here in the Monarch 2 in the Gist, which was a collection of probably 10 different photographers and mixed media artists who displayed pieces from all over the world. And it was a really eclectic and cool mix of people. That was put on by Autumn Headwear, and they left that on display for First Friday, which there was a van sessions that happened in the same space. And I think that was it was cool for me personally to be able to let the community kind of see a little bit behind the curtains.
You
of,
planned
like,
that, right?
Yeah, I had that intention. Yeah. And then this whole event starts. I start thinking about it in May, and then it just ramps up, and then it just gets more heavy and busy, and then like, of course, no matter how hard I try to plan, like, it all comes together 4 weeks before the thing happens. As
That's
you know, I
what
walked
it
in
is,
here
yeah.
like, Brandon, we got this art display. You guys have that space, but can we share it with you? Because they're bringing all the stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And thankfully, you were willing to do that.
I almost didn't. I'm like, you got to haul it out of here.
You're like, I don't know, man.
Nobody messes
my
with van
space.
session. Yeah.
Snowboarding. It's too snowboarding. It's too artsy. Get it out of here.
Get it out of here.
We can't support this.
Nobody likes that stuff. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Art. Okay, very good. Yeah, and that's the only public side, right? Was the art show, because it's a private event mostly.
Yeah, it is a private event, but that film premiere people could buy tickets to is $5 to get into, which was really cool. And then we did that art show, and then we had another kind of like wrap-up party at at Copper Nickel on Friday night. That was $10 to get into,
Nice.
and anybody could sign up. We actually had a pretty big showing from the Ogden community that night, which was really fun. So. Yeah, I loved hosting the event in Ogden. It's a great space for it. A lot of support from people. Visit Ogden, and just the people at the Monarch and the Copper Nickel. Everybody was just like, yeah, it's a pretty unique event. I'm like, people need to ship like giant pallets full of shit here. Like, do you have somewhere I can store it? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll just like find a place. Just
Shane's house.
tell them to send it. And I'm like, yeah,
Remember
right.
Shane's
Send in stuff. So, it's definitely a community effort. super grateful for the support from everybody. So.
I love it. That's fantastic. Next time, invite Todd and I, would you? We'll show up. And
You got a
hang
couple
out.
months
Yeah.
before you have to start planning, so
Yeah.
Yeah, you're invited.
Okay. Well, thank. That was nice of you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
on record, that's all we needed.
On record.
Sounded like a
Show the
sympathy invite.
podcast at the door. Just tell them to listen. So if you can get in, they'll be like, all right, Jay said.
Do you know who I am? Todd uses that line all the time. I tell you. He's going to Sundance, and he's going to be like, hey, do you know who I am? At Sundance, which is next week, I guess?
Yeah.
Next week starts Thursday. I'll be out there Saturday through Saturday.
Saturdays through Saturday. Nice.
Are they doing an Ogden component of that?
No.
They gave that
I
up.
rode up off Ogden a while back.
That's-
And I don't know that full story. I'm sure it's devious if we dug deep, or it's just not. It's just pretty removed from. I think maybe it was just too much of a pain for filmmakers and stuff to come up.
Well, speaking of films, Cam.
I'm here. Present.
There's a little short. Now, you did this film. You filmed this last year.
Yeah.
It's called Apollo.
Yep.
So it's about a 60-year-old. Was it 60 years old last year or this year? I don't know. It's about roughly 60-year-old.
Yeah.
Chairlift at one of our local family run resorts here, Nordic Valley, which is cool as hell. I grew up skiing there. Lots of people did. It's one of those unique lifts where you can get off halfway, or you could ride
Yeah,
it all the way to the
mid-station.
top. Yeah, which is pretty interesting.
Can't you, if you jump off of any lift, that more or less do that? Or?
Well, legally. you
Okay,
know,
fair. Got it.
yeah,
Got it.
Yeah.
So you chose to not only like an ode to this chairlift, but then you chose specifically to shoot it at night. So I have the write-up.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the write-up.
Read the write-up.
Okay. Apollo is an homage, love that word, to an aging fixed grip chairlift in Utah that since 1970 has carried skiers up the sleepy hometown hill of Nordic Valley. Everyone there is asleep. It's weird. For the lucky Apollo has been the conduit for powder runs under a patchwork of dreamlike lighting and a transportation to an ethereal state of weightlessness turns. An experience that can often feel like skiing on the moon. And I don't know how you did it, Cam. So director, cinematographer Cam McLeod with us here in the trailer. Producer Kelly McLeod. Weird, same last name. I don't know why that is.
Coincidence.
Coincidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Additional footage editor Dylan Totaro, who probably filmed what? Most 60, 40, 20%? Well, how much did he film? Nothing?
Not much.
Not much. Okay.
Not
He didn't
this-
film much.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we tried.
You just
filming
threw him
this-
in as credit for because you
Well,
like him? Or?
no, so we actually tried filming this the year before.
Okay.
And we went out one evening. Dylan was with me that evening, and it snowed, and then it started raining, and then it never snowed again at night that entire season. So we went a whole season not being able to pull off the project, and then last winter when we pulled it together and the weather lined up, Dylan was unavailable, so Dylan wasn't there. But we shot. So we had a couple shots that we used from the year prior, but we only had shot like half an evening. It was kind of like a test shoot. We were just going out to see what it would look like and thinking we would have repeated nights throughout the winter. Marcus at the time, who was the skier in the film,
Skier Marcus Caston, who
he
you've worked with a lot.
Yep, Marcus and I are good friends. He was still living in Salt Lake at the time, so it was supposed to be logistically easy. He would just come up when it was snowing at night, and we weren't going to need to ask for special permissions or anything.
From the mountain?
From the mountain, yeah.
Okay.
We just thought we would chip away at this throughout a season.
Well, we should talk about that because I don't know how he did it, but he skied the mountain a lot. There's nobody else on that hill
Yeah.
That we see.
that we see. Yeah.
So Marcus in the fall moved to Switzerland. Marcus called me one day to talk about
Not like Switzerland, Utah. Like
Nope.
Switzerland.
Nope, like the
Switzerland.
country.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like this whole other place.
So he is currently and was at the time living in Switzerland in Engelberg, and called me. We were talking about another project, and then he asked, well, what's going on with the Apollo project? And I said, well, I don't know how we're going to pull this off. You being in Switzerland and trying to find a weather window that was going to line up that was predictable enough for you to fly over. And I said, for example, it's supposed to snow 40 inches in the next, in 2 days over the weekend or whatever it was. but there's no guarantee. I mean, Nordic Valley is a fairly low elevation ski area. The forecast sometimes calls for snow, and it can be rain. So, you know, to buy a plane ticket to fly across the Atlantic to leave the Swiss Alps to ski Nordic Valley just seemed like a big ask. And he said, well, I gotta go, I'll call you back in a second. And then called me back, you know, moments later, and had bought a ticket. And so we were rolling the dice that this storm was gonna pan out, and we had about a 48-hour window.
Man,
where-
everybody needs friends like that. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's good to have friends who their job is to
I wouldn't even go to the
skiing.
terrace for Brandon.
I wouldn't even go to
I said I wouldn't even go to the terrace for Brandon. He's like, I need more notice. Give me more notice.
So yeah, hats off to
Good
Marcus
friends,
for
yeah.
you know, trusting the process and buying the ticket.
Well, and I'm almost through with the credits. Skier Marcus Caston, music the proper way, which we also have in the studio here. Shane Osguthorpe's wonderful vocals sort of open the film, and then you switch to Shane's alter ego, Carrie Myers, for the rest of the film, and then back to Shane for the closing remarks. But some shots that really stood out to me, because I was like, how long did he sit there to? So it's snowing, beautiful flakes, like
Yeah.
multiple times. It's at night, like gorgeous night skiing. No one else is on the mountain. How does this happen? Everybody
The
wants
snow
to be
took
there.
direction well.
Yeah, the snow did take
they did.
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fake snow, people. It's not fake snow. And then you have shots like, let me try to remember, him getting off the lift, which is great. I'm like, how long did he stand up there waiting for the freaking lift to come around just to get that one shot of him coming off the lift, you know, like, and then there's the other one. I like how most of it's in slow motion, but then
Yeah.
you've got him in real speed, fat, and he's hauling ass down a certain section. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that is awesome to see how fast that kid is skiing.
Yeah,
So,
Marcus can ski.
yeah, he can. He's a ski race background, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, okay, how did this happen? I had reached out to the marketing person at Nordic, and at the time their mountain manager, and there was quite a really nice, closely knit community that was happening or coalescing around Nordic Valley last winter. They had some really great employees who were really sort of forward thinking as far as like how they wanted to interact with the community and really interact with the community at large, or Nordic Valley specifically, so the neighboring houses. So we live right next door to Nordic Valley, and so we got to know these people very well. And I had reached out and said, hey, I'm trying to do this film, and is there any way we could get access after hours? Because it was February. The lift closes at 8, maybe. I can't remember now because it hasn't been running at all this season. But I think 8 o'clock. So really, by the time it got dark, that only gave us like 2 hours ish to shoot. So I was looking for, because we had such a small window to shoot this thing, if they would facilitate getting us up the hill in any other fashion. So they ended up running the lift for us until 1 a.m.
Oh wow, that's late.
Yeah. We stopped shooting at 1 a.m.
Wow.
So we got very lucky. They were like incredibly accommodating, and so it was just us, and so it was myself, my wife Kelly, and Marcus, and we would just sort of take lap after lap after lap, and then there were a couple lifties who were there, sort of making sure the lift was spinning appropriately, and it was really great because they were actually riding up the lift and taking runs, and they were staying out of our way and not getting in the shot, so we had all the we didn't have to deal with any public, but like it was awesome because you could essentially hear them having the experience we were trying to capture, like just slightly off camera, like just ripping around, having the time of their life, riding an empty
They never get to
chairlift.
do this,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah.
Like it was like totally like, bonus time for them, which was really awesome to see and listen to. But the idea was for us
Not that you were having a horrible time,
No, but it was stressful because it was
work.
just like we knew we had this very limited amount of time to capture what we needed to tell a whole story. So every shot had to count, and this was really my first project filming solo. I typically am not behind the video camera. I'm usually shooting stills, and oftentimes when working with Dylan, I'm directing, but in an effort to sort of double down on assets for clients, like I'll be directing and managing sort of the overall creative brief, all the while shooting stills at the same time. So I'll be setting up shots, making sure Dylan has everything he needs, talking about, you know, what frame rates we're going to shoot, what lens selection we're going to use or whatever. And then knowing that he's good to go, then I'll pull out the still camera and then we're shooting simultaneously. Is like a typical workflow, but he wasn't able to be there, so I kind of had to just figure it out.
There's
on my
some
own.
shots like and there's a few of them actually. I love them too because it's a still shot and then the skier comes into frame and then either leaves the frame or whatever. But it's beautiful shots. So
Thanks.
did you learn all those from Dylan, or these are all in your head, I guess?
No, these are all in my head. Yeah. I mean, I shoot and compose a lot like a still photographer, so I like kind of lock off shots. And I like, and I've worked on a lot of film productions with, you know, other cinematographers and have watched a lot of people work. So I kind of understand a lot of the differences between shooting stills and adding camera movement and making those decisions when needed to. It's a little different. It's hard for me to like jump right into that and shift my brain a little bit and say, okay, now I have to like do something slightly different because the video clip requires a sort of different treatment or camera movement than what a still frame requires. So there's a bit of an adjustment period, but
So you're shooting at night, video at night. Do you want to give us some geeky details like ISO and frame rate and stuff that you were kind of going to?
yeah, I shot on a Sony FX6, and it shoots pretty well in low light. So I think like the ISO was 12,800 was sort of it has two base ISO settings. So it's like ISO 800 is its low native ISO, and then the high low light native ISO is 12,800. So I think I was shooting primarily at that ISO, mostly shooting in 60 or 120 frames a second, with the exception of the couple of shots that were at 24. So like normal speed. Yeah, I don't know. That's about as nerdy as I get.
Yeah.
How many runs? How many runs did you guys lap? How many laps were involved in making?
I have no idea.
If you had to guess,
I don't know, 15
15.
maybe. Yeah,
It's lower than I thought it would be. I honestly thought it
Yeah.
was way more.
it's a
runs
slow
than that.
chair.
Yeah.
It's
a slow chair.
It's not a fast
true.
chair.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
That shot you were talking about though, where he got off the lift, we were like, okay, so I have to think about this. So we shot the opening scene the night before
So
in the
bar
bar.
scene. Shout out to Phil and Corey, by
Yep.
the way. Yeah.
So the bar scene was shot the night before because it wasn't really snowing,
I
and
thought he was wearing a Van Sessions hat, but I don't think he was.
no.
I had to do a double take. I thought it was a Van Sessions hat too.
Yeah, it really did
Yeah.
look like it. Yeah.
So we shot that the night before, got that in the can, satisfied. Knew we had to get a couple clips from the exterior because we knew we wanted it to be snowing, so we were gonna get that the final night. So then, whatever, let's call it Wednesday. We shot on Wednesday night till 1 a.m. and got pretty much everything we needed. And then we did shoot a little bit the following night. Let's call it Thursday. So we went out, and from like 6 to 8, we picked up a couple extra shots. And I think, I don't know, maybe one or two of those actually made it in. But just to go out and try to get a little bit of extra. And so the shot where Marcus gets off the chairlift was from the second night, because I knew like that wasn't something we were focused on. The first night we wanted to maximize as much ski action as we could get. So a lot of this like B-roll or storytelling content, I knew we were going to try and get sort of either the next night, or I would come back another night and shoot like B-roll stuff, which I never needed to. But so I was in front of the lift. So we were there at normal operating hours, and I got on a few chairs in front of Marcus. There's public behind us. Marcus asked for a few people to wait, so we had a gap. So I got off at the top and had my camera gear. Camera's already out already. I like skied over, threw my bag down. I only had a couple chairs, whipped the camera out. Like, you know, I'm like panting heavily, and then I'm like trying to steady the camera, and then just like hit record as soon as he came off. So I only had like a 30-second window to grab that.
Did you record
long
as
shot.
you saw him coming up?
Yeah.
So that you had a long shot and then use the short cut.
No, like I literally almost missed the shot because
really?
I didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
I like barely got that one.
Yeah, it's a great
clip.
shot, and that's
Oh yeah.
and it's an ode to the, because you can get carried away with the skiing part, like everyone, you know, but really it's about the lift, and without seeing somebody get off the lift, I don't know. I think it's a
getting
great
on
shot.
and getting off.
Getting
the-
on and getting off, because you
Yeah.
get on in the beginning.
The whole story was, or the inspiration was really, the lift was part of it. The lift was the main character, so to speak, and Marcus is the conduit to tell the story of this fixed grip chairlift. But then the palette, so to speak, that I wanted to work with was the lighting at Nordic Valley, because it's
Yeah.
very unique to anywhere else, and it was very reminiscent for me of skiing growing up back in Michigan and sort of these smaller mom and pop ski areas, and skiing at night, because that's what we grew up doing after school, going skiing and skiing the local landfills, and
I thought of it as like a purist ski film, and Marcus Caston, the skier, he's known for the Return of the Turn, like, you know, traditional ski racing, and you guys have collaborated on some of that kind of stuff. But it's just like, I've been alone. I snowboard, but I've been alone snowboarding that hill at night.
Yeah.
When it's open but there's nobody else on the, like, you can, if you time it the right night, and there's nobody else on the mountain.
Yeah.
And it just feels like you're there by yourself, and it's like the coolest feeling ever.
Yeah.
Because you got the mountain to yourself, and you're just cruising down these same runs, and I'm watching him going down these, and he's so good.
Yep.
He's such a great skier, and it was beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we wanted to capture that isolation and give this sort of dreamlike moment of what it would feel like to have a ski resort all to yourself. So it's not really meant to be based in kind of reality. You know, he walks out of the bar, you know, he's already finished last chair, and he walks out, and, you know, the lifty fires up the lift for him again, and he gets on. And so, like,
Oh yeah.
It's-
What's the lifty's name? Who was that?
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah, who now or did run the bar at Nordic Valley. So it's funny because our bartender was Corey, who was like the head of ski patrol at the time, and then our lifty was actually the bartender, and we kind of swapped roles because of just their
Movie-
sort of overall demeanor.
The magic of movies. Yeah.
But yeah, so
Filmmaking.
wanted to sort of capture that feeling of isolation and just that dynamic lighting that would backlight this heavy snowfall and just create a very cinematic look and feel without all the camera tricks that would be required to normally accomplish something like that. It just was there, it existed, and we just needed to find the right conditions to capture it. So
You messaged me and was like, "Hey, what band or what music would you suggest for, I think, a ski film or whatever?" I don't know how you said it. And I threw out some suggestions. I don't think I suggested the proper way.
no, I don't
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Well, I prompted you.
No,
with
you
some
said
stuff.
like anyone but.
Anybody
Yeah,
but the proper
yeah.
way. Those guys are boring.
Let's give him credit for that. Yeah.
I'm like, ski film. I'm like, dude, yeah, rah, 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 you know. And so I sent over some suggestions that were very stereotypical, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah. Because we had music picked out. Marcus had a piece of music that he really liked, and we tried to get it, and we could have gotten it, but I think it was going to cost us over $5,000 to license this piece of music.
Wait, Proper doesn't charge that much?
He hasn't got our invoice yet.
I mean, it was a pretty, not a ridiculous number, because I don't ever want to sort of take away artistic integrity and the value of the things that we create, but like, it didn't fit our budget. We had, we just didn't have that. And so
I'm glad to know that we were the budget decision that
well, it couldn't have worked out.
knocked
any
me down a peg
better.
or two right there. No.
This was something that Marcus really wanted, and I know, even after this is going to come out wrong, but even when I presented Proper Way, he was so attached to this other piece of music, and it was very dynamic and very like soulful, and he was just so attached to it that he was pretty upset that we didn't go in that direction, but we just didn't have the budget. But I think now that time's passed,
Is he okay with it now?
Yeah, I mean, I did get a message from him that he was very happy with the way this turned out. So, so yeah, then I just reached out to Shane and presented the idea.
But when did you find their song? How did you find the song that you wanted? Because you chose 2 songs, but the one song is the majority of the film.
Yeah, burn the whole thing down.
Burn the whole thing down. We'll talk about that in a minute.
I mean, I was looking for something.
Do we have to?
The piece of music that we were inspired by and that we were looking at had a very strong female voice, and so I was looking for something that could fulfill that same emotional experience. And when I found Burn the Whole Thing Down, there were a couple songs that fit, but like Burn the Whole Thing Down was, the sentiment was kind of there, even though now it's really appropriate.
Enter Carrie Myers.
But at the time it just had this feeling of like, I don't know, this aging chairlift, the story we were telling, like, it, in my mind, this thing was going to get decommissioned by Nordic Valley.
Little did you know.
Within a year or two, and be replaced. And I thought we'd be sort of honoring that story as it was chosen to get replaced, as opposed to it breaking down and,
being forced to be replaced.
Yeah,
Because it
exactly.
didn't run this year, for those of you who know. And Shane, I don't know if you remember this, but that song was performed live on Van Sessions. And before introducing the song, I think you say, we're going to have some shirts. We're going to make shirts that say "Burn the whole thing down." And now I really think you should make those.
No, we
They
have
have
them.
them.
We have them.
Okay.
Yeah,
there
we
go.
were trying to give them away last year,
Okay.
and we still have like 3 or 4 left. And now, like, my phone blew up Monday morning. Everyone wants the T-shirt now. So
Yeah.
it's kind of eerie because we before we get into the fire thing, I will just say, like, this is the beauty of the collaborative community in Ogden, and this involves Chase as well, because it's like Ogden will always just find a way to say yes. Ogden doesn't want to say, like, a lot of communities are like, they'll give you a list of 19 no's why this can't be done. But everyone in this city kind of just has this collaborative mentality. It's like, we'll figure out a way. We'll make this work. So when Cam reached out to me about using our music, I didn't even hesitate for a second. I'm just like, dude, whatever you want. Like, we're not doing anything with it. You might as well do something with it, And I will say that the film, I mean, he screened it for me way last spring when he kind of had a rough cut of it, and I hadn't seen the final cut. So when it dropped on Friday, I think I probably watched it like 50 times. No joke. And I listened to our music more watching his film than I ever listened to it while we were producing it. I barely remember how to play the song,
Yeah.
And
And that's an original.
yeah. But to watch his edits with it, I texted him as I was watching it for the 50th time. I'm like, dude, this thing is so gorgeous. I'm like, I said, I had no idea that this was a ski film song, but now I don't think it's anything else.
Should we talk about that? So he does a couple of things where he'll do edits back to back on beats, and then let it ride. Yeah.
Oh, there's so much. Even the lyrical, what you need to know about that song is, first of all, it was written primarily by Scott. Scott kind of brought that idea into the studio with the band and had a good chunk of it written, and then we co-wrote together, the 3 of us, and finished it out. And then Carrie took the song and started singing it. Scott was going to sing that song. It's a very literal song, and that's how Scott writes. He's a very literal songwriter. Like his song.
I am so disappointed. He should not be literal in his job.
No, he's got this. He's got a song called "I Want You to Accept My Love," right?
Yes.
It's a heartbreaking love song. I just
Fantastic
want you.
song.
It's literally about his cat. He just was like, I wish my cat didn't hate me this much. And he wrote this beautiful song about it. Burn the Whole Thing Down
love
is
song.
literally about a tightrope walker. I mean, it sounds like a metaphor. I'm sick of walking this tightrope one end to the other. But he was like, no, literally, if you were a tightroper, you'd get sick of your job. If that's all you did all day was walk on a tightrope back and forth, the only way out of it would be to burn the entire thing down and start over and do something different, right?
Oh.
So that's where it came. But then he found these lines in there that I never paid attention to, like this line of friction. When it says this line of friction, it's talking about a tightrope, but he's showing it the ski lift going over the wheel. You know,
and that a lot of that credit also needs to go to Dylan. I mean, Dylan is
Did he do the editing?
he's a great editor. Yeah, I mean we co-edit. A lot of times I block things in and give him some direction, and then he works on it and smiths it, and then comes back to me with an edit, and then I have more direction to give him. But yeah, Dylan is very good at editing.
Yeah, it's, like learn to lean the other way. Like he has him making the mid-turn, learning to lean the other way. Yeah, like the way he lined it, I was just like, that's just uncanny how you're able to do that. Dylan did a great job. But like the color palette that you chose was so amazing. I love how colorful it is at the beginning, because the aid room bar is just colorful, right? Like any ski resort bar, stickers and signs and you know. But when he steps out of the bars, the lifty steps out of the shack, and there's that split screen red and green kind of color palette, and like that's really the last color you see outside of that yellow Helly Hansen jacket. Because then it goes monochromatic for the most part, and it just I like I said I can't stop watching it.
Yeah, the original idea was to shoot it in black and white, actually.
Oh, and I love that you didn't, because it looks like it's black and white, except for the occasional when he comes under a light with that yellow jacket, you're like, oh, this is still in color.
Yeah, it didn't need that treatment.
No,
It's already
beautiful.
monochromatic.
Beautiful.
Shane, you have seen that a few times.
I've seen it a few times. I've analyzed every shot. You can ask Cam. He and I texted I'm like, bro, I can't stop watching this thing. It's so pretty. As soon as we did, I'd like start it over. I got to the point where I wanted to turn the music down because I'm sick of hearing our band sing this song, but I want to just keep watching this footage, you know. But the way that they lined up, and then the title work, by the way, was that Dylan who did the title work on it?
It was my idea, but Dylan's execution.
The execution on it was flawless. I don't know if you paid attention to it, where he skis up.
The beginning of the yes,
and like the wipe is cool. Yeah, I mean, the first thing I noticed was the wipe. I'm like,
But
oh,
it's
the way the chairlift wipe
in line.
No, but like even if you like the line in the song is there and back again, and if you watch that Apollo go, when the A is made, it goes there and back again
In cursive.
And it covers the entire of the line, and then it gets wiped clean by that chair. And I was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me! How's this even
I watched that a few times. I'm like, they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
over there.
pros, man. Yeah. So if Cam McLeod ever calls and asks to use your music, you just say yes.
Just say
You
yes.
know, and you.
Cam, what do you do with films like this? 'Cause it's a beautiful film. It's 5 minutes
that's
long or
the-
something. Like, and you're like, I made this awesome piece, and then what is it? Where does it go? I mean, it's on Vimeo. Anybody can watch it right now.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Okay.
Sounds like
That's
there's
a great
something
question.
more-
I mean, this is sort of a new thing for me as far as like where, like how do you? I don't have a platform as far as video is concerned. So, you know, I don't have a following on YouTube or Vimeo, even for that matter. So, yeah, it kind of goes there and sits there at the moment. I mean, we're trying to pump it out through our social media and get people to share it.
You got to write up in this.
Got to write up. So I am currently reaching out to my contacts to try and pick it up and get some traction behind it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a great answer for that.
Because, you know, we go to Banff every year, and it's like, what does that do if you're in something like that?
Yeah, so we are submitting and have submitted to a couple film festivals that we haven't heard back from. I don't even know if we're on that timeline yet to where we would hear back. But we also we got it done late for the round of film festivals that kind of has already happened. So we're in this weird transition period where it's relevant content now. I don't want to sit on it for another entire winter in hopes to then submit it to Banff, for example, which we are going to submit it. I don't know if it already being out in the world makes
Matters,
it
yeah.
matters. But yeah, we kind of missed that window of submitting for this year's film festivals.
I
So
feel
we're
like I've
submitting
seen
for next.
some of the films before I've seen them.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Do you know what? Have you researched that? Like, what does that do? Does it do anything for the filmmaker when you're like, oh, this Banff selection, this or whatever?
Yeah.
Does that do? What does that do for the filmmaker?
I mean, it gets your name out there and it gets noticed, and yeah, it's definitely a
Fortune and Glory.
feather in
Brandon.
the cap,
Is there
so
a
to
red?
speak.
Is there a red carpet you can walk anywhere?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think you
step
actually
and
get one
repeat,
and you
you
carry
can-
it with you everywhere. You just roll it out when you walk into places. It's like,
It's like yours. Yeah, exactly.
Time you go to your mom's house. I got the.
no, I mean, I have friends who've had great success at Banff, and I know that it's not like the springboard you might imagine to success, but it definitely gets. I mean, probably one of the greatest benefits to being in something like Banff is going to Banff and viewing your film there, and then having that opportunity to sort of network and socialize with other filmmakers and just other people in the film outdoor industry, specific film industry. So I think there's a lot of value, and so it's goes back to sort of what Chase is talking about in a way. Like, film festivals are a lot like trade shows in the
100%.
sense that like
Yeah.
you're gathering together, you're building community, you're sharing your work, and obviously the end goal is slightly different for for those two respective events, but I think the benefit for people is similar. It's an opportunity to go and be a part of a community and share your work and your ideas and talk to other people about their work and their ideas, and hopefully we get to do that.
Okay, well,
Would you, one last question before we transition into something darker, or brighter, however it goes. Yeah.
Warmer.
Warmer. Yeah.
Hotter.
Would you,
Hotter.
would you do it again? Do you want to do it again? I mean,
Make another film,
just
or make this
remake
film again?
that. Just a reboot.
Just want to reboot it.
Remake, yeah.
I like making film.
Yeah.
I like being a part of the film process. It's, I mean, the reason I got into it and started dabbling with it and had a lot to do with the disappearance of magazines and the disappearance of the photo essay. And for me, the photo essay was this ability to sort of tell a story with still frames that was well-rounded. And so, you could take a photo of a detail of something and it had value in the storytelling medium of photojournalism or photo essays. But as those pages become more and more scarce, those images become less and less valuable, and we become more reliant on like a single frame for something like digital use in Instagram, or an email blast for a client who's trying to sell product. And I've always loved still photography because of the power of a single image, but I fell in love with photography because of the power of like being able to tell stories through a series of images. And that's how my mind works when I create images. And what I noticed working alongside film directors and cinematographers is like, holy shit, you get to shoot B-roll and that has value to you? I don't get to do that anymore. And so I was almost envious of the B-roll category, that it had value and their ability to tell more well-rounded stories and have a place for that to live. And we were having fewer and fewer places for that to live. So I just like the ability to focus on all this like peripheral experiential moments that help fill out a story, and video accommodates that really well. So,
All right. So one more question and then one comment, and then we'll transition. Sorry. And the first one is, how long was the director's cut of this? Was it always around 5-6 minutes, or did you have a lot more?
No, we didn't have a lot more. So it's probably
Pretty close to what?
Yeah. And really the music dictated a lot of that too. I mean, we probably worked to stretch it as much as we could because we didn't have a lot of extra content to use. And because we're shooting on this same lift over and over again, like it was really challenging to try to continue to make it feel different, like each run or each shot, like how will it not start to feel repetitive?
It's not the longest run in the world.
No, it's not the longest run. And so that was kind of tricky too. Like, how do we, like, where do I stand to make this look different? Like, what lens choice do I use to make this look to make it not look like the last run we did? I mean, the beauty is a bit of the repetition, and that was part of the story, but like, I didn't want it to also fall flat because you're like, okay, I saw this same shot again and again and again. So yeah.
And congrats. I don't know if we've had you on since the release, but congrats on the release of Salty.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really good comments, across the board. People want more. They're just going to have to wait. But at the same time, congrats on all that.
Thanks.
That was a fun project.
Yeah. It's been a big year, actually.
It's been a big year,
Salty, coincidences.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Oh, so here's the transition. It's not going to be loose. So Nordic burned down. And so
So
Proper Ray wrote this song.
Fun.
They wrote this song about burning it all down. And then a couple days later,
Sure shit, yeah.
and maybe you can do a little backstory there.
Oh, I don't know. Shane was there. Shane,
I wasn't
you
there.
skied there. No,
I skied
you
there Thursday,
like
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, you skied the mountain Thursday. Cam, you released it to the public on Friday, the film.
It's when Ski Magazine.
When
published
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the title track essentially is Burn the Whole Thing Down.
Yeah, and the title of the piece is Apollo, the broken down chairlift currently.
Yes, yeah, which doesn't run. And then today is Tuesday, but was it Sunday night?
Sunday night.
Sunday night, the lodge that had been standing there since 70 something,
68.
68. Yeah.
68, damn near burned down to the
Oh,
ground. I mean, it's
It's a wreck.
It's
it's gone.
not salvageable. There's no
No.
way.
nothing. No, I saw photos of the inside. It is not salvageable.
Yeah, it's gone.
And the real unfortunate thing is this all kind of it lines up with the video so nice, and it makes the video all the more powerful. But they don't want to touch it.
So you could, because you filmed, so that opening scene is in the basement of the barn that just burned down. The bar
Yeah.
was in the basement, which was recently converted. Because what was it before? It was a bar. I can't remember.
It was
a
the
ski
first
patrol
aid
shack.
room.
It
Yeah,
was first. Okay, and then they converted, which is brilliant, because they converted it to this cute, the smallest bar and
called it the aid
They
room.
still call it the aid room.
the aid
Yeah.
room. Yeah, and then that's where the opening scene to the film. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
burned.
Yeah, and I don't
Burned
think
the whole thing down.
Burn the whole thing down.
Nordic won't share it because it highlights a lift that's not working and features a bar that's no longer in existence. And I'm sure Ski Utah has no interest in promoting it because again, it sort of has a negative connotation at the moment. It's just
I don't see that. It's an unfortunate event that happened. Again, we'll have to listen to the rest of the Proper Way songs so that we know what happens in the future.
We've seen if they said anything about Banyan Collective.
Yeah.
Quick search, yeah.
Well, we have a new. We think the community thinks, the neighborhood thinks that the replaced lift for Apollo should be called the Phoenix.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Rise from the ashes. I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's not quite Viking, but
Yeah, but still.
yeah, who's
Rising
the
from the
Viking
ashes.
god of fire?
Like Thor or something. What is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be something.
Oh, yeah.
So Shane, how'd you feel when you saw that the other day? That's your song.
Yeah, it was surreal to wake up. Because I woke up Monday morning. Monday being Martin Luther King Day, it was a holiday. I had the day off work. Woke up, picked up my phone, and there was probably 10 text messages from different people. Cam was one of them. There was a few others, and a lot of it was kind of tongue in cheek, but very uncanny. That oh yeah, 2 days ago you guys dropped this film with this song called "Burn the Whole Thing Down," and look what you did. Ha ha. But it's the ha ha. I appreciate the ha ha's, but it's part of me was just gut wrenched. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got to be kidding me. And Cam said it really well. That it feels very special that we were able to archive this piece of history.
Yeah.
With the timing of it, it's just it becomes surreal, very uncanny, beyond uncanny.
Well, I didn't
Such a
know
weird
he had
coincidence,
started
but-
2 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I messed. My comment on his Instagram was, "Did you know this
What's gonna happen?
Apollo was going to break down? Did you get inside information? Because you live right there, and then someone might be said, dude, that thing's not going to last much longer or whatever."
I mean, all you have to do is go ski there for a night. How often
Yeah.
while it was running, it would break down, and it
Yeah.
just kind of needed probably a lot. And you just look at the thing, and
Yeah.
it's a dinosaur, and it had a lot of charm, but you knew that its days were numbered. I
love
mean, it
that.
probably
I
should
love
have
that
been
run.
retired long ago.
Yeah.
But lifts are not cheap. But
Neither are giant barns.
no, yeah, they were gonna tear the barn down.
Yeah, I think the barn was they were planning to take that barn down eventually. I think.
Okay.
Not it was in rough shape.
I think the plan was to take it down this summer.
Yeah.
Oh, they got a head start.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insurance
Yeah.
pays for it.
Yeah.
Oh my
Exactly.
God.
Yeah. That was the
Unreal.
plan.
Well, okay.
That's another podcast.
That's another
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. True crime.
Wait,
Turn
is there
into a
inside
true crime.
information?
I don't know. Cam lives right next to the place, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen matches at his house before. Is all I'm saying. So.
Chase, Burch, thanks so much for coming on the program, Cam. It's an amazing film. You can find it on Vimeo under your name,
Yeah.
Cam McLeod.
Yep.
MC.
But you're going to drop the link in the description, right? Isn't that what
I
you're
always
supposed to say
do.
right now?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Link
don't-
in the
does
description.
anybody even click those damn links? So I don't know. Snow report is
favorable
favorable, except for
Tomorrow.
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 Tonight. tomorrow.
Yeah, overnight and morning. And
How's the Abbey forecast looking?
Well, that was not what I wanted right there.
thanks for that blast.
Set the
Yeah, that
mood
was
though.
loud.
Yeah.
Thanks. So that's not what I wanted either. I don't know
Well,
what-
while you're
here it
pulling
goes.
that up, I do have one bit of arts news.
Yeah.
And so my gallery, Finchling Gallery down in Salt Lake City, has an opening reception on Friday night. That is January 19th from 6 to 9. It does coincide with Salt Lake City's gallery stroll. The show is called 35 by 35, the Zillennial. I don't know about that name.
What does that mean?
Edition. I don't know. It's an age thing. Because it's 35 artists under 35 years old. And so there is a group called Artists of Utah. They have an online magazine called 15 Bytes that puts this together every 3 or 4 years at Finch Lane. And so we're happy to have them. And it's a great show. So come check it out if you can. Be there on Friday night if you can. Obviously, there's some things going on up here in Ogden. So
Yeah, we got Locals Rock concert Friday.
Hey, who's playing that?
Here, full circle. If you'd like to burn the whole thing down,
We're never playing that song again. Just so you know. We're never playing that song
do you
again.
take
It's been
requests? Shane?
retired.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's so funny. I want a banner. I want a banner that we can hang somewhere that has the name of the song and we just retire it.
Do you know Jagoda, the drummer here in town?
yeah.
He told me a story. We were doing a little thing for Dia de los Muertos, and he was telling me this story that they played the garage the night before it burned down the first time down in Salt Lake, and they played kind of a similar burn the whole thing down kind of a song. I don't know what the song was, but it was definitely about fire.
Yeah.
So he was like, I felt so weird about that because it burned down the very next night. And I'm like, yeah, how about a whole ski resort?
Oh my god. Okay, so not that song,
So
but
tune in Friday to see what they play.
yeah, proper way here.
See if they single out anybody or any building or business in particular. Yeah.
Shout out to the Banyan.
Fade's just like, just don't talk about them on. Don't talk about them on.
The cursed band.
Nordic Valley has a 39-inch base, but they are closed temporarily until they can figure out a way to. Boy, I don't know.
Oh, you know, and on the subject of collaboration, this is another thing too. Is like Snow Basin has reached out immediately, offered to help with the pass situation.
Good.
Try to offer some benefits
Yeah.
to Nordic pass holders that can be
Sweet.
redeemed at Snow Basin. Just like, because like, again, the resorts around here are not competitive. They're very cooperative for the most part. And so it's another beautiful little nod to Ogden and their collaboration, I think.
It's fantastic. Powder Mountain, 69-inch base, 6 inches over the last 48 hours. No one had any snow over the last 24 hours. We had a lot of snow last week. We'll get more starting probably tomorrow. Snow Basin has an 85-inch base officially. So I think that's it. Todd, do you have anything else?
Nope, other than Sundance is next week, so I'll tell you about that in a week or so. Or maybe I'll phone in next Tuesday. I'll see.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good idea. Thank you to Banyan One for powering today's episode of the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Listen and subscribe to Ogden Arts and Adventure on YouTube. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and thebanyancollective.com. You can DM us if you want to be on the show. Anyone can be on, but you have to DM me, slip into those DMs at Ogden Adventure, and I will decide if you are good enough to be on the show. This week's Outdoor Jukebox includes this weird song called Burn the Whole
It could
Thing
be the
Down.
last time it's played.
It could be the last time it is played.
This either
I'm
breaks
gonna
the
take my
curse.
headphones off now.
Yeah. This breaks the curse or
it
it
up.
continues. Yeah.
As recorded on Van Sessions, this is the proper way with Burn the Whole Thing Down.
Bold choice, Brandon.
It's kind of a tough act to follow, the poet laureate.
Sick of walking this tightrope, one hand to the other, one foot there, another, there and back again. Don't know how much longer I can make this one-way wonder again to look beyond places I've been. gotta turn the whole thing down. Turn all of it down. Turn the whole thing down. Start again. Gotta burn the whole thing down. Burn all of it down. Burn the whole thing down. Start again.
So good. Original, proper way. Yeah, so we're going to make some T-shirts that say "Burn the whole thing down." So if you're in such a mood at the moment,